Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of remote learning or distance learning or online learning, whatever you want to call it. Welcome. I just wanted to walk you through a couple of things from last week before we get started on what I'm asking you to do this week. So when you open up Google Classroom, and it's the same for all of my 8th grade history classes, when you open up Google Classroom, scroll down to where it says that I posted new material and we have Flipgrid and Remind here. If you have not created an account on these two activities, on these two websites, please do so using your 9-digit student email. So again, it's your 9-digit email at your 9-digit ID at student.lbschools.net. So please make sure that you are creating an account on these two websites with that student email. I'm going to be using Remind to communicate with you guys for right now. It's just another communication tool for me. And then Flipgrid is something that I will be using to have like an evaluation of what you've learned in the activities that we're doing throughout these next few weeks. Okay, so after you do that, make sure that you have completed the early industry and inventions activity. There's a tutorial video for you to watch right here, and it goes along with this Google Doc. If you have finished it, please make sure that you mark the activity as turned in, and when you do that, you attach the actual document. Just turning it in doesn't mean that your document is going to automatically be attached, so please make sure that you attach your document when you click that turn in button. So again, Remind and Flipgrid, create an account if you haven't done so already. Watch the tutorial, the lecture, and complete the activity. Make sure you turn it in with the actual document and that you've changed your name to your actual name. And then finally, our session meetings. So for every class, and I sent you an email about this on School Loop, for every class, I'm going to make myself available for about 15 minutes or so. And if people are in the class and they have questions or we're having a conversation, then it will go past the 15 minutes. That's fine. It's just if no one joins, after 15 minutes, I will close the session. And this is your opportunity to ask me any questions or give me any comments or concerns that you might have. Or if you just need to chat, this is that time to do so. So I'll be doing this at the beginning of what would be your normal class period. So for example, period 1, your class starts at 9 o'clock. So the meeting session will be posted at 9 o'clock. There'll be a little link down here for you to click on so that you can join the session and we can connect that way. All right. So make sure that if you have a question that you're joining your session time for your class period. In School Loop, there is a list of those times in the email that I sent to you. So make sure that you're doing that if you have any questions for me. All right. So let's talk about what we're doing this week. This week we're discussing nationalism and sectionalism. It's a little bit easier this time because I'm not asking you to create a Flipgrid or anything. It's just reading and answering questions. I suggest you take it, let's see, there's 7 pages. Take it a page or 2 a day, and you can get this completed on time. It's not that difficult. For your pages, there's going to be a set of questions on the side and then these drag tools on the left over here. So for these drag tools, it's very simple. All you're going to do is click on the box and drag it to wherever you're supposed to be dragging it to. So for the green boxes, you're going to box the terms and names, and those are listed here. Those terms and names are throughout the text, and they're very simple to find. You just look for the words that are bold and underlined. So I see a couple here. All I do is click and drag. And as you can see, I can still see the word behind it. It's a very light color. If I run out of any of these boxes, it's very simple to just click on the box and then double click, copy, and then paste to give myself a new one just in case I run out. Okay. I don't need that, so I'm going to get rid of it just by hitting the delete button. Now with the yellows, you're going to use the yellow to highlight the answers for the questions that are on each slide. So you can see there's some questions here and some questions here. Some of the questions have two parts, and I kind of let you know about that. Like, for example, there are two parts to the question. Delete this text and type your answer here. Okay, so again, there might be one question on a page, but look for the boxes with the questions and the space for you to write your answer to the text or to the question. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through one of these in a second just to make sure that you understand what to do, but let's talk about what this lesson is about. So the main idea of nationalism and sectionalism, I'm just going to read it. It's right here. Before I do that, I'm going to make my text a little bigger. Okay. Patriotic pride united the states, but tension between the North and South emerged. So at this time, we didn't really have a northern region, a southern region, an eastern, and a western region. It was mostly just the North and the South. Okay, we weren't divided into regions quite yet, the 4 different regions. The tensions led to the Civil War between these 2 regions, the North and the South, mostly because the North didn't need slavery. It wasn't a part of how they grew economically, so they wanted to get rid of it, whereas the South depended on slavery, and so they wanted to keep it around. Okay, so these tensions are what led to the Civil War, and regional differences can still be found in the United States today. So the North and the South today, very different. Same for the East and the West. So the East Coast and the West Coast, different. You can tell someone who's from California versus someone who's from New York, not just in the way that they speak, but also in the clothes that they wear, the things that, the activities that they like to do, that sort of stuff. Okay. So these kind of regional differences still exist. Terms and names, I'm just going to go through these real quickly for you. We have nationalism, Henry Clay, American system, Erie Canal, James Monroe, sectionalism, Missouri Compromise, and the Monroe Doctrine. So I'm going to walk you through the first question over here. So it says, nationalism is a feeling of pride, loyalty, and protectiveness towards your country. As a strong nationalist, how did Clay suggest that America strengthen its independence? So I'm going to look for this answer here. I'm going to use the yellow box to highlight it, and I'm going to delete this text and write the answer. So I'm going to read with you this first piece so that you kind of get an idea of what to do. So One American's Story, I'm right here. The War of 1812 sent a wave of nationalist feeling throughout the United States. Nationalism is a feeling of pride, loyalty, and protectiveness toward your country. Representative Henry Clay from Kentucky was a strong nationalist. After the war, President James Madison supported Clay's plan to strengthen the country and unify its regions. A voice from the past. Every nation should anxiously endeavor to establish its absolute independence and consequently be able to feed and clothe and defend itself. If it rely upon a foreign supply that may be cut off, it cannot be independent. So that's the answer to my question. It says, as a strong nationalist, how did Clay suggest that America strengthen its independence? Well, you strengthen your independence by being able to feed and clothe and defend yourself. If you rely on others, so a foreign supply, that they could cut off at any time for whatever reason, then you cannot be independent. So I'm going to take one of my yellow boxes here, and I'm going to click and drag it to here, and then I can resize to show the whole part of where my answer can be found. Okay. And then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to type my answer. So as a strong nationalist, how did Clay suggest that America strengthen its independence? By being able to, and then this isn't my words, so I'm going to make sure I put quotes around it, by being able to feed and clothe and defend itself. And then I'm going to continue my quote, my information. If it rely upon foreign supply that may be cut off, it cannot be independent. Okay, and then check my spelling. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to continue on with the rest of my answers here. Okay. So again, very simple. You're just reading the text, answering the questions, showing me where your answer is in the question. There are more words that I need to box, so I'm going to make sure I do that before I move on to the next slide. So each slide so far is the same. Answer a question, show me where your answer is in the text, and so on. So the last page is a little bit different. Here are our words, our vocabulary terms and names, and then I have another set of questions down here. So let's look first at the vocabulary terms or key people. So the first one is nationalism. I could go up to the first page where nationalism is and find the answer there, but I've also included for you in this assignment the glossary. So if I start back up at the top, if I go to edit and then find and then find again, this little prompt will show up. And I'm going to type in my first word, nationalism. Okay. Here is my answer here. Okay. So I am going to, because I can't remember that exactly, I'm going to make my two windows here and then go back to my activity. And I'm going to type that answer here. So it's a noun, a feeling of pride, loyalty, and protectiveness toward one's country. And then the word can be found on page 354. Okay, and then move on to the next one. Again, edit, find, delete nationalism, and type my next one, Henry Clay. So Henry Clay I couldn't find. Let's see if it's just in the alphabetical version of the glossary. Went too far. E, F, G, H. So he's not here. And it's not here. So then I do have to go back up to the text and find who Henry Clay was. He was a representative from Kentucky and a strong nationalist. So I'm going to write that down. A representative from Kentucky and a strong nationalist. Okay. So very simple for the top portion. The bottom portion is the same. You have some questions with some answers that you need to find in the text. Same thing here. When you find the answer, you're going to highlight it in yellow. And then a little different, you're also going to drag, or you can cut and paste, either one, the question number from down here below next to the answer. So the first question is, how did the Erie Canal help the nation grow? So I'm going to go back up to where it's talked about the Erie Canal, which is right here. It says, and let me make my information bigger. It says water transportation improved too with the building of canals. In fact, the period from 825 to 850 is often called the Age of Canals. Completed in 1825, the massive Erie Canal created a water route between New York City and Buffalo, New York. The canal opened the Upper Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes region to settlement and trade. It also fueled nationalism by unifying these two sections of the great country. So we're going to find our answer here. The Erie Canal allowed farm products from the Great Lakes region to flow east and people and manufactured goods from the east to flow west. Trade stimulated by the canal helped New York City become the nation's largest city. Between 1820 and 1830, its population swelled from less than 125,000 to more than 200,000. Okay. Now I can use this to, if I have any extra boxes, I can use the boxes here to highlight where the answer is to that question. Or if I go back to slide number 7, I can click on one, I can Control C or File Copy, and then go back up to that page. Command V. I'm going to make this smaller here so I can see it. And my answer was right up here. So basically the majority of this is my answer. So I'm going to highlight all of it. And then I'm going to go back to slide number 7. I'm going to click on my number 1. And then I'm going to cut. And I'm going to paste. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that I go back to slide number 7 and I type my answer here. And if it goes on to outside space, or if you need new space, then you can always create a new slide and write your answers there. Okay. In fact, I may do that for you just to make it easy on you. All right, so that is your task for this week. Again, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please make sure you return here at the beginning of your class period, because every day there will be a meeting session open for you. If you have any questions for me, if you need immediate help, then you can send me an email on School Loop, and I will do my best to try to answer you that way. All right, everybody, have a good week. We'll talk soon.